Hi there, greetings and salutations. Welcome here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I'm the host of this show. So, we're here with the show that we do on Wednesday called Favorites, in which I make a list of some sort. Usually it's a 5 or a 10, or it could even be a 20. But I haven't done a 10 for a while, so we're going to do one of them tonight. So, we're going to start by doing this from my normal way, worst to first, or 10th to first, or however you want to call it. And I want to make sure that people understand this is just my picks. These are just my interpretation. Doesn't mean that they're the quintessential top 10 greatest progressive rock bands of all time. And that's what we're doing tonight. My top 10 favorite, or my top 10 greatest and most influential prog bands. So the first one, this one was tough to put in. There's a few that didn't make it, but this one had to be on the list. I thought about it, and the other one I liked, I didn't think had as much influence as this band. So we're going with Camel. So Camel is a Canterbury band. Arguably the best of the Canterbury bands. I think it's my personal favorite, so I'm kind of a little bit biased on it. Some great stuff. I would say their first 4, maybe as far as 6 albums are really good. The first 4 for sure, because Pete Bardens was still in the band at that point in time, and I think the band with him in it is better than any other version of the band. Really strong band. I think I will use my glasses for a minute. So I chose just to bring this album because this is, many consider this to be their best. This or Mirage, I guess, maybe the 2 best albums by them. This came out in '76. You've got lots of good stuff on here. So for me, when I think of Camel, I think of some average vocals, but some really good instrumentation, especially the guitar and the keyboards. Very dominant on this particular album. Also very, a strong element for their music. You also have some of their stuff early on. I tend to prefer the first 3 albums over this one, but it's pretty strong album no matter what. Andy Latimer, I think, is pretty underrated for guitar playing. No doubt about it. I think he's definitely a upper echelon guitar player. He just doesn't get the notoriety, I think, mostly because the band didn't do as well as I think they should have done. But I think they had a great influence on a lot of those Canterbury bands, as well as a lot of progressive rock fans followed this band quite a bit. So that's my first choice, number 10, Camel. Okay, we're going to move up here to number 9. So number 9 is a little bit different than the rest of the bands because they didn't come out of the 70s. They were kind of the forerunners to that new, I guess that second wave of progressive rock that came out in the 80s. And I guess these guys are kind of the poster boy for that, Marillion. Many bands cite these guys as the first of those bands. There's lots of these type of bands, but I think this one was the best. Prog music was pretty much dead by the end of the 70s. It looks like it was out the door. And then this band comes out and kind of brings it back. And then a lot of other progressive bands in the early 80s came out and joined them. But I think this is the band with the, to me, the signature, a little bit of a Genesis sound, but the beginning of that second wave of progressive rock. Marillion, their first 4 albums I really like a lot. Fish is in them. Maybe he's not quite as good of a vocalist as Hogarth is, but I think the music is more progressive here. The stuff that Hogarth did with the band after that, a lot of it's, I guess, considered pretty decent. I just never have warmed up to it, and perhaps I never will. I don't know, but I do like those first 4 albums quite a bit. So that's my number 9, Marillion. Number 8, This band could probably go higher. If I was doing a ranking, they definitely would be higher. But as far as their influence goes, I tried to weigh that against it. So I had some bands I picked a little bit more because I thought they were better. Others I picked more because I thought they were more influential. This band definitely is very different. Nobody sounds like them. And one of the best, most talented bands. A lot of bands cite this band as influencing them as well. We're talking about Gentle Giant. Brief career, 10 albums, or I think 11 albums over a 10-year span. I didn't follow them much when they first came out. They didn't do as well as they probably should have based on the music, but probably the first 7 albums are spectacular. I like them all, and this one's no exception to that. This is their 4th studio album, Octopus. I have 2 versions of it. I like both. Basically, they're the same. They just have different covers. But, yeah, very influential band. One of the multi-instrumentalist bands. One of the most multi-instrumentalist bands out there. Very good harmonies. Strong arrangements. Yeah, just a fantastic band. Many people cite this as a huge influence on them. I think they're one of the best, and so I picked them today. So they're my number 8, Gentle Giant. My number 6, was that number 8? Yeah, it was number 8. So this is actually number 7. This band, for me, would be much higher if I was just going on my personal feelings about the band. But we're talking about Jethro Tull. As far as influence goes, I can't think of a single band that has put as many super albums out there in a row. Like, they went through a period of time over 10 years or more where they were just putting out one excellent album after another. They're very different. They're a lot more folky than a lot of the progressive rock bands. They have a bluesy element to it. Pretty much dominated by the one guy, Ian Anderson, although the other members did contribute as well. This is one of their better albums. It's also, to me, kind of the end of an era. It's kind of the last of those great Jethro Tull albums. The art on this is really good too. And then Jethro Tull is also one of the bands who's put out, when they remastered or reissued their box sets, a lot of them, and even some of the albums that were just reissues, have a lot of bonus tracks that came from the time period of the album that weren't included on the album. I mean, they could have pretty much put out 10 double albums in a row. But some of that bonus stuff is actually better than some of the stuff on the album. And that's saying a lot, because there's a lot of really good stuff on the album. This particular album, I like the Flying Dutchman quite a bit as well on here. So they've got just a ton of great albums. Very influential. A lot of bands will cite these guys as major influence, and you can hear it in some bands' music too. Bands like Heart, their first album, where they have that flute playing on Sing Child Sing. Very kind of Jethro Tull sounding. So yeah, Jethro Tull is my number 7. 7, I think, only because of their mostly their influence is large, but I think, to me, they're a better band than a lot of these other bands were going to do. But I think these other bands had a little bit more influence, a lot more influence. So next up for me is probably this band, number 6, King Crimson. This particular album is pretty spectacular. Lots of very complex music arrangements and multiple what they call musical interpretations. Multi-instrumental band. Yeah, just a lot. It was a really solid band. And different lineups all the time. They changed a lot. But they always progressed almost right into that. Some of their stuff is very kind of jazz fusion. So they've kind of crossed a bit of an element for me. I don't like them as much as some of the other bands because I'm not a huge jazz fusion element. But there's no taking away from the talent of this band. And they were the first band To me, they were the first band to put out a full progressive album with their debut album back in 1969. Still influencing a lot of bands. Small discography for such a impactful band, and they never really had that real super success that some of the other bands that are coming up have had. So King Crimson coming out here in the number 6 position. So that's the first 5. The next 5, I decided to go with this band, Pink Floyd. I know a lot of people, there's arguments all the time from people that think that these guys are not progressive rock. I think this album definitely is. Some of the albums that came after this, Dark Side of the Moon, Animals, Wish You Were Here, I think very progressive. But they also had some stuff that maybe wasn't as progressive. You had that psychedelic era earlier on. But to me, this is a progressive band. I think the main reason that people don't think of these guys, the people who don't think of them as progressive, is because they're not, it's not complex multi-instrumentation. The music is complex and the sounds are interesting and very imaginative and very progressive, but there's a bit more of a dark side to their music than you normally get with the prog bands. And so a lot of people tend to say that they're not. This particular one is now becoming one of my favorites. The song Echoes on here, probably their best song, I think. It's becoming one of my favorite songs for sure. Anyways, they put out, 17, 18, 19 albums. I'm not quite sure how many. A lot of them very different. They have a huge variation in the sound of their albums, going from the beginning right through to the end. Lots of one of the best lyrical bands. Huge influence on a lot of bands. You'll hear bands out there, even established bands will play music from them just because they're so influential. So to me, Pink Floyd had to be on this list. Prog or not, I think it's prog, so I'm going to go with it that way. Number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with my favorite band, Rush. Now, some people might say Rush is not as, well, they're not as big as Pink Floyd, obviously, but I think they have one of the strongest fan base of any rock band in history, almost cult following, very influential to the progressive metal rock industry. Many of the people cite Rush as an influence there. I think they have one of the deepest, most loyal fan bases out there. Also, they're my particular favorite, so they had to be on this list. So there's my number 4, Rush. Number 3 is we're gonna go with one of the, I call it the trifecta bands. So this band, highly influential. You can see that with the new wave of progressive rock music. Very, very influenced by this band, Genesis. I picked this album because I've gone through periods where I think this could be my favorite Genesis album. It's got a lot of really good stuff on here, including my particular favorite Genesis song, Cinema Show. But Battle of Epping Forest is absolutely incredible. The Firth of Fifth is really good. And one of my other really quite favorite songs is I Know What I Want in Your Wardrobe. Really good. The only song in here that kind of brings it down just a bit is Fool Me. I know the vocals are good. I just never really warmed up to it. And Genesis, many bands, you can hear it in a lot of these new wave of progressive rock bands. You can hear it in their music, how influential these guys are. I call these one of the big 2. So my number 3 is Genesis. Number 2 is going to be the other half of the big 2, which is Yes. Many people cite these bands together, very similar. They've had a little bit of crossover with Bill Bruford playing with Yes, playing with Genesis on their live tour. Yeah, just a super band. I picked this one because it's a double album. This is a stretch for the home run for among the most progressive rock stuff. Kind of similar. It's a double album with 4 songs, kind of reminds me a little bit of Thick as a Brick because it's got that one song taking up the whole thing. There are some other progressive rock bands that really have a similar sound at times. A lot of the newer bands tend to either be Genesis-like or Yes-like in their music and have had huge influence on all of those bands. So Yes, of course, many consider to be the greatest progressive rock band of all time. For me, I think they're probably more like number two, but they had a huge influence. And even though this album is maybe weaker than some of their other stuff, I like the cover on it quite a bit. So that's my number two. Number one might surprise people that I picked them here. I don't particularly enjoy this band. I don't hate them or anything. I just never reach for their music, even though I know it's a lot of people love it. I think they're the most well-loved progressive rock band out there. They definitely had a huge influence. They were the first progressive band to really take off and soar to heights that no progressive other rock band, I think few have reached these heights. We're talking about Emerson, Lake and Palmer. For about 5 or 6 albums there, I think they were right at the top of the game. Nobody sounds like them. Some of their stuff is absolutely incredible. The sounds that they were able to put, the instrumentation at times is off the charts. I wished I loved them more than I do. I don't really love them. I think they're okay, but I can see why a lot of people like it, and their influence is undeniable. Every prog band cites Emerson, Lake and Palmer as a huge influence. Arguably the best keyboardist in history, between him and Wakeman from Yes. But I think these guys initially had more influence. I think their run of 5 or 6 albums was bigger than the run of any of the other bands. If you were just take 6 of each of the bands, I think that these guys probably had the biggest run of that, and so that's why I put them in the number one spot. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, also known as ELP. So that's my take on the top 10 greatest and most influential prog bands of all time. I will now give you them in descending order, or yeah, first to last. So Emerson, Lake and Palmer, number 1. Yes is number 2. Genesis is number 3. Rush is number 4. Pink Floyd is number 5. King Crimson, number 6. Jethro Tull, number 7. Gentle Giant, number 8. Marillion, number 9. And last but not least, Camel, number 10. I also looked at Porcupine Tree, figuring they are one of the most important bands that have come out in the prog community in the 90s and beyond. There's other bands like Wobbler, huge influence. Engelgard, another great band. There's lots of them out there, but those were the 10 I chose for today. Could have chosen Moody Blues. Yep, those are my 10. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please hit the like and subscribe. If you want, you can give me your list in the comment section below. In fact, I prefer you do that because then I could see if I've missed anybody. Yeah, just great bands. Gotta like them all. And I hope to see you all next Wednesday night for another episode of Favorites. So please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and we will see you then. Take care. Have yourself a good day and good evening. Goodbye.